how prioritizing your partner ultimately benefits the children and the family. What you think about that, Howard?
Shit. In other words, that's basically saying what? Fuck the kids?
Well, you know, when they grow up and get old, it's fuck us. So
Yeah,
we gotta make this last, okay?
Fuck them kids.
Why you say that, sis?
Fuck them.
And as parents, we recognize that ain't no king or queen in here but us. Y'all peasants right now. Y'all gotta earn y'all keep.
Fuck them kids. They can manipulate situations in their favor, or like you said, cause tension or divide in the household over something that's not even worth the tension.
Guess what, y'all? As a parent, it is your responsibility to teach your kid to not be selfish. So it benefits them either way. Right. We saying fuck them, but we saying fuck them for them in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
A positive fuck. I get it.
I can't.
All right, y'all. Welcome to another edition of Date Night with Coach. Dwayne and Ebony Green here with our beautiful co-host, Miss Sharice, and her husband, Harvey the Great. The Harvey's over here. So today, we got a great topic for you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about how prioritizing your partner ultimately benefits the children and the family. What you think about that, Howard?
Shit. In other words, that's basically saying what? Fuck the kids?
So we gonna let Harv have that. So the topic for today is gonna be fuck them kids, right? But the spin is how prioritizing your partner ultimately benefits the family and the children.
In other words, fuck them kids.
I'll let you have that. So what we'll do is we're gonna give a couple points that I would like to share in terms of, I guess, my conceptualization of this concept, and then we're gonna dive into the conversation. So the first thing I would say that prioritizing your partner does is it eliminates. And actually, let me back up a little bit. First thing, Sharice let us know a little while ago, like she don't play about them babies.
Don't fuck with my babies.
So we ain't attacking your babies. We ain't attacking your babies. All right. So we want to make that clear. So don't nobody want no smoke about the babies.
All right.
So we're gonna let that be clear. But so the first thing we want to talk about is how it eliminates an entitlement. It eliminates entitlement, eliminates competition and resentment. All right. So I believe that when we elevate or position our children above the heads in terms of the parental unit, it creates a sense of entitlement among our kids, right? Kids become entitled. They think that they run things, right? Also, that sense of competition. You should never have a level of competition between whichever partner or spouse it is and the child, right? That's something that can be problematic. And also resentment. Because as a partner, if a partner feels that a child is elevated above him or her, whatever the situation be, I believe that could be some resentment there. And so the next point, and before I get to the next point, there are sometimes, y'all see the different posts and stuff like that on social media when they say, who you gonna feed first, women? You gonna feed your kids first? You gonna feed your husband first? That type of stuff. I think social media, people like to just stir the pot, right? People like to kind of post things and get people stirred up to kind of provoke conversation and get a feel for where people are with regard to their relationship and just be messy for real. But the next thing I would say prioritizing your partner does is it sets an example. It sets an example of the order and the structure of the family. With regards to the head, the parents, and then the child, right? And that's pretty much self-explanatory. When the kids see how the parents operate, I believe that it creates an environment where they learn, so that then when they get into that position, they tend to take something from that and possibly operate in a similar way. And the third thing is, and I think Ebony and I really kind of embody this in terms of raising our kids, especially in a blended family. I think it galvanized unity among the parents, right? In terms of fulfillment, right? Because again, we know that there's stuff going on, but we become unified, right? And we focus on fulfilling each other, right? And so what that also does for the kids is it provides a foundation for support and development with the children. So again, as parents, when the adults are and the caregivers are on the same page, it creates an environment that now we're taking care of each other, and so together we now focus on the kids. But if one of us is focused on the kid more than the other person, now that can create a potential issue between us. But if we're focused on each other and then we collectively focus on the kids, that's better for everybody. So that's kind of my spiel, and I want to hear from y'all, man. Let's dive into it.
Well, I mean, these kids nowadays, they different. You know what I mean? I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I think their situation with learning your parents is they learn how to deal with y'all which best suits them and their own selfish reasons.
Oh, absolutely.
So they will divide the parents and not even understanding that you're creating hostility within the household based upon your own selfish needs. You know what I'm saying? I explain that, but it comes off as nagging and all this other stuff. You know
No air quotes.
You know what I mean? But,
No air quotes.
But if you got a parent that's feelings based, so the child can play off the feelings. Cause she used to be hard, and then it was like one time she went into my daughter's phone and she realized that she was labeled like a birth giver. My daughter called her a birth giver. She changed mommy to birth giver, and she been soft ever since. Ever since she called her a birth giver, and she earned mommy back. It's back to mommy now, but it came with some different shit. Now it's like, no, I gotta be the bad guy. To the point she'll sit there and give her subs to make her think that she is for what she's saying, and she know I ain't for it, but she ain't gonna say it. So she gonna make me be the bad guy that have to say no. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's a divide, but like I said, it's fucking kids. I don't care about that goddamn feeling. So it is what it is. I gotta be the bad guy, I'm gonna be the bad guy.
So let's be clear, he doesn't care now, okay? And he doesn't care now in the teenage year of his children. But when they were smaller, they ran over top of him. So in my mind, I had to be a little more harsher because it's like, wait a minute, you don't think that's too much? What's going on? And he be like, oh, it's nothing. Now, he wants to be tough dad, I guess. So he can have it. And I can now lay back and not always be the bad guy. Because I was the bad guy the first probably 13 years, maybe. He just taken over. He can have it.
You just gave him the baton, huh?
He can have
She ain't giving me
it.
the baton. I gotta stand up for what's right. Somebody gotta stand up for what's right.
But I do agree with him. I do feel like, especially depending on your children, they can manipulate situations in their favor, or like you said, cause tension or divide in the household over something that's not even worth the tension. Because life is going to be life, and life is going to give you issues and problems. Why we got to deal with this when it comes to the kids? So what I had to learn too, with again me coming from strong women in my family, is to take a step back and be like, it ain't always what you think. Consult, see what's going on, or sometimes a child will come to me first and be like, I'm like, oh, well, let me discuss it with your dad first. Versus me in the past, I just used to always give an answer, and he just rolled with it. You know what I mean? So through trial and error with that, with our children, we've learned to just always have that communication open with us so that we are on the same side or the same thing. Because if you let them come in between you, they will.
Right. So in other words, it's like, babe, you hear that shit that he just said? She chose you with this bullshit? That's basically how the conversation goes. You know what I mean? You can spice it up. We ain't got to be formal all the time. We trip off our kids sometimes, because they be thinking like they'll say something to you and you're not going to communicate. And that's the key. You don't let them know how much y'all communicate, because you catch them in their bullshit every time. Because that's the key to their success. Is like you said, is big on communication, right? Yeah. But if you communicate and be about us, I agree with you. Then it's more about us, where now you don't actually allow. You won't allow the negativity and the division to come in, because you already got your foundation done between the two of us, which everything outside is like, okay, we battle everything. And that's kind of fucked up, because the kids got to be on the outside of the boundary, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is.
Well, when they grow up and get old, it's fuck us. So
yeah,
we gotta make this last, okay? Make it last.
What you think, babe?
Fuck them kids.
Why you say that, sis?
Fuck them.
I share. So we our journey is a little different than I think because we have a nice sized blended family, right? And a big part of us coming together, part of the conversation for the next one is going to be how outside forces kind of try to create division, try to pit us against one another, and using the kids for that purpose. We had to struggle through a process where we had to navigate conflict and issues among our kids and even just general with our kids to say, okay, is this a blended family issue or is this a normal sibling issue that we need to deal with, right? And we've had to have a lot of tough conversations where, we look at them and we be like, all right, listen. One day.
Conversations that anyone should have, anyway, by the way.
Yeah. One day, these kids gonna grow up and gonna go on their way. Mm-hmm. And again, and I'll say for me personally, dealing with some of the stuff that we dealt with when we got together, just external stuff. We talked about in our previous joint about the exes and all that kind of stuff. It was a struggle for me to get to a place where I can just let certain things kind of manifest and be what they were gonna be because I couldn't control it anyway. Mm-hmm. So the conversations that we've been able to have is getting to a place where we can say, you know what, them kids are gonna do what they're gonna do. They're gonna be what they're gonna be, right? We have to make sure that we're on the same accord. We have to make sure that we're connected and locked into each other, regardless of what residual impact comes from that, right? And whomever, respects and kind of stays, and I'm gonna use this word, in good graces with who we are evolving into, they're gonna benefit from who we're gonna be, right? But, and I say that to say, we've navigated challenges with our kids, and we've gotten to a place where we can say, yeah, fuck them kids, because at the end of the day, right now, the things that we have to say and do regarding them, they don't even understand the implications of it, right? Mm-hmm. We gotta have the foresight to say, you're gonna be uncomfortable right now, but at the end of the day, what we're doing and prioritizing ourselves, shutting you down in certain situations and not allowing you to manipulate, not elevating you as a kid to a status of a deity. Like, I see people posting my king to a 3-year-old boy. That's your king for real? I got you. But, at the end of the day, we ain't elevating no little babies and no kids to that place. You gotta earn that. Right? And so, and as parents, we recognize that, ain't no king or queen in here but us. Y'all peasants right now. Y'all gotta earn y'all keep. I'm joking.
But to be honest
No,
with
that's
you,
the realness of it.
they only want the perks of the adulthood. They don't want the responsibility. You know what I mean? It's always like, oh yeah, you treat me like a child, but it's like you're not ready for it.
And one thing, and I think about kind of part of what you guys talked about a second ago. Kids are, when you're born, everything that you do is about getting your needs met. You cry when you wet. You cry when you're hungry.
That's true.
You cry when you wake up. You cry when you want to be comforted. So you're innately, programmed to be selfish. Mm-hmm. Guess what, y'all? As a parent, it is your responsibility to teach your kid to not be selfish, not to elevate and to now support those behaviors that come from infancy. There's a growth process that has to take place. So when your kid is being selfish, there's certain things you're gonna let go when they're young. But as they get older, there has to be a process where you teach them. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to sit in this right now. You uncomfortable? You crying, you mad, but you're gonna have to sit in this and learn how to process it, learn how to soothe yourself and get over it. Because the world, you said life be life, and the world don't care.
That's don't.
Real. Right? And if we enable our kids to just give them everything they want, everything they need, then what? When the world tells them no.
You'll be taking care of your kids for the rest of your life.
That's it right there. Because if you raise them now, you ain't got to raise them later. If you don't raise them now, you're going to be raising them.
But that's the key word, is raising. A lot of people nowadays will appease the child to keep them quiet. So I'll give them when they cry to do this because I'm not really raising them. I'm just appeasing them, and then I can go do what I want to do. But when you, like you said, if you actually being attentive and understanding that, okay, this is a selfish nature of the child, and now you got to figure out ways to go around it to cure that. That's the definition of raising. And I don't think that society really is doing that. I think nowadays kids being raised on tablets, whatever. It's like babysitters. We got electronics to babysit them, and we don't have that interaction with them like we supposed to.
So I got 2 things for you.
Because we dumb, man. Go to sleep. Get on my damn face.
So one thing is, in my ignorance, you know, growing up, you know, in the city and all that, and really developing a mindset that what equating what you have in terms of resources to how your kid turn out, right? That was me being a kid. One of my first jobs working at a school, I realized like it was some kids that were like cutting up, right? And I was like 24. And I was like, yo, I realized one day standing outside in the morning when the kids coming in, getting dropped off and stuff, and I'm seeing some parents that are around my age, and these are like kids between like, you know, kindergarten and like 5th grade, you know, elementary school. And I was like, hold on. Some of these kids that's acting a fool, they come into school fresh, and their parents around my age. And I was like, hold up. Because the parents drop them off before they go to work, you know what I mean? So it's not, and again, thinking that because if your parents are, you know, struggling with different things, mental health, addiction, you know, not working, different things like that, that equates to the type of kid that's gonna show up in school. That ain't it. And what I saw in that situation for me, in most cases in that environment, what I saw was kids' parents were focused on themselves. They gonna dress the kid nice and send them out. You know why?
Because it's a representation of them.
Right. Oh yeah, that's Sharice and Harv baby right there. Look at her, they fresh. That's a representation of you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It ain't got nothing to do with them. Because they don't care. Kids don't care what they wear. You know, we had to learn that.
Look, my child care what she wears. Yes, she does.
Listen.
And now at 15,
Right. She did not.
So and that right there, and that's when it's sometimes formed when you got a 3-year-old and you gonna throw him in the ones and make sure he fresh with a polo. He go to school, come back scuffed up, and the 3-year-old getting in trouble because he dirty his shoes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What is a 3-year-old gonna do?
That's exactly what they're gonna do.
You know what I mean? And so now I'm positioning in my kids' head that that's what's important.
Right.
That's what's important. Not you going and having a good time with your friends. So now when you go to the playground during recess, you standing up and ain't playing because you scared you're going to get in trouble for messing up your shoes. So now my values, instead of me developing social skills on this playground, I'm developing a damn fashion sense as a little kid.
I mean, I could say it's maybe like a 50-50
Look, you
thing.
like that fashion.
No, I'm saying, no, not even that with the fashion, but I'm saying like, that's like getting around the curve that now they got to worry about their parents, because the parents will get you far in life. You get what I'm saying? Because if you dress for the right occasion, you might get the right opportunity. So it's like, you know, but as a kid, I'm saying you can make them miss out on their childhood. They shouldn't have to worry about their parents at this point, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it ain't like every day is like, and you know, we from old school, like, you know, Easter and stuff like that, which is certain days we had to like keep it clean. But other than that, you know, we had a childhood.
So you know what's funny? Like when my children were little, I used to be like, you got to pay outside shoes, school shoes.
Right.
And he used to be like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because I don't want them fucking up my shit. Like, that's not, like, I mean, I know it's on them, but I paid money for that. And you know what's funny? My son used to have all the time, because he wanted to be fly outside. He come in.
Go play basketball. Yeah,
Yes,
that
I
used
be
to kill
like,
me.
what happened to the play shoe? Like, what's going on? But I think that was old school, because that was something that was kind of brought on down. Like, when I went outside, I didn't have anything good on it. If I fucked it up while I was outside, it's fucked up, because guess what? It wasn't my school stuff. So we had different sets of clothing and shoes for different, you know, things.
And see, for me, it was like that for my older kids. But my 7-year-old, I don't give a fuck. Nothing I put on him, I don't care what he does with it. He had all his new school shoes are freaking filled with dust and mud first week of school because he at the playground. But I don't care. Like, you know, one, they can't take the shit with them, and they grow so fucking fast. So why are you preserving this shit? Let them use it, fuck it up, we get a new pair. Because we buy more than one pair of shoes any fucking way. So let them.
Not to mention the fact that he'd rather just wear some Crocs or go barefoot, little caveman style, because he wanted to be comfortable.
I understand. I'm still a little selfish though, because I feel like you get judged. It's like if I'm sitting outside with some clean ass designer on and my kid got some dirty ass scuffed up nice, now they're gonna say, man, I'm the parent that's selfish and I ain't doing this even though this motherfucker fucked up his nights. I ain't fuck up my shoes. You know what I mean? They fucked up theirs. That was on them. But we get judged like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, you know, it's
Well,
very
you
interesting.
being judged by someone not understanding that my shoe's not gonna be fucked up, but this child
Right.
is still playing.
But people will judge you
then
as a
that
parent for that,
judgment
though,
from
you know what I
them
mean?
shouldn't
Right.
even
That's
fucking
that-
matter because
yeah,
that means
that's
you're the
displaced.
dummy.
That's displaced. That's
They act like all your money is going to your shit and
Yeah,
their shit
right.
is old. Like, no, his shit is a week old. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? You just a little ADD-ish. That's it.
Right. So I feel like we covered a little bit about that entitlement that can be kind of born out of the kid. I did hear a little bit about kind of how kids sometimes, if they, you know, they're gonna try to play one parent against the other. They're gonna try to go to one, go to the other. And I mentioned, you know, make sure like that they don't know that y'all talk, right? That they, I kind of feel like I want them to know, so that like in the open, meaning you come to me with something, you trying to be slick, I'm gonna call you up and, hey babe, what you think about this? Or wait, I'm gonna go talk to your mother. You know what I mean? And again, you find that like in working in schools, you find sometimes like if a teacher, say you get in trouble with a teacher, right? Teacher send you to the office. What the kid gonna do? They gonna make up a whole nother story when they get to the office. And or if something happens, but they thinking that people are not on the same page, they thinking that people are not talking. But when you find out that you can't circumvent, it's gonna force you to conform.
Get in line.
When you know that you don't have no way, you keep running into enough brick walls. But again, that's the nature of that selfishness. The kids are seeking structure. They're gonna walk to try to find every soft spot they can. If they find a soft spot, they're gonna push through it. If they keep hitting hard spots, they're gonna eventually realize like, yo, I'm in a room with walls and I can't get out of here. And I gotta conform to what's asked of me. You know what I mean? So I think that's just a part in every environment for real. I think it's just a part of consistency and being on the same page. You know, as it relates to discipline and all of that, who get the first plate and all that, like, that's funny. I really trip off that stuff when I see it on social media. Like, who gonna get the first plate? Like,
Look, and every time I see that, I be like, oh, this is a single bitch. All these in these comments, they single bitches. Talking about, oh, the kids, and that's one thing my grandmother did always teach us. That man get that plate first.
I don't always get the first plate.
If you don't get the first plate, baby, it's because what you eating is not done.
I mean, I don't really care. But
yes, you did.
No, I don't.
Because you said that. Yes, you did.
Because the way I feel
that's
about
the
that.
resentment part.
No, I'm just
Yes.
The way I feel about that first plate is, if the kids want the first plate, then I could just fucking leave and you can get the first plate all the goddamn time. If that
I
means that
can't.
much to
I
you. You know what I'm
fucking
saying?
cannot.
Now you can always get the goddamn first plate.
Listen, he's speaking because we had an incident one time where I was fixing food for everybody, and I think one of his homeboys had stayed the night. But because everyone in my house eats differently, some stuff is prepared sooner than others. And in my mind, I'm thinking,
Just start
people
rolling
just
it out.
wanna eat when their stuff is done, right? I gave the homeboy the plate. He like, where my shit at? I'm like, you know you don't eat this, right? Like, and I'm cooking everything simultaneously. It just so happened that this stuff is cooking faster or quicker. Yeah. You know what I mean? He like, well, where my shit at? I'm like, well, I'm still cooking it. So he definitely cared about that, making sure he get his plate first. Now,
You just went left field. Like,
no, I didn't.
We talking about the kids. You talking about a whole nother nigga that don't live in my household. That's the whole different goddamn
no, I'm
thing.
saying,
Goddamn
even
right,
with
you
the
don't serve
kids.
no nigga first. I don't want him to have no. I don't want no man to have no
I'm
indiscretions
saying-
about
I'm
anything.
saying
I don't
the
want him to
same
walk out and
situation
scratch his
is
head like,
just-
goddamn, I got the first plate.
If your stuff is done before he
now he
gets
will be over there all the
y'all in
goddamn
order.
time.
That's it. Is he still over there?
No, because I raised hell about that motherfucking plate.
Whatever.
Nigga ain't been back since.
He don't get to come over here no more.
Oh
my whole point to sum it up is just that because they eat so differently, sometimes, like say I'll give a more valid example. Me and him, he eats baked macaroni and cheese. My daughter don't. So if the baked macaroni and cheese is one of the sides and everything else got cooked before that, then she can eat before him because his plate isn't complete. Maybe that's a better way.
Man,
of
fuck
me
all
saying
that.
it.
Everybody wait until the mac and cheese is done.
Oh,
Then make
the
the
thing
plates.
is, though,
I'm
I think
just
that
playing.
shit is relative because even though the man technically should get served first, sometimes, again, if we talking about teamwork and we talking about what's done, me serving the kids and moving them on about their day and moving them on to their next task helps the household. So it ain't always about you sitting down at the head of the table and eating first. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's a metaphor. It's not just about who literally picks up that fucking plate and eats.
Right.
No, it's that if he needed to eat first, he would. But because we on the same page and the same team, guess what? Feeding the kids is more important right now. And then give me my plate
what it
next.
does is sometimes the kids, and I know in our household, when the kids are eating, she's preparing food, I may be doing something else. So that the kids are done, they can go about their way, and then maybe she and I can have a moment to just sit and kind of, because of the busyness of our lives now, we can sit down and we eat.
Yeah, I think it just boils down to perspective.
Yeah.
Like, it's like animal instinct. If you taking too long to cook that meal and my stomach is touching, I'm going to want that first plate. I'm watching the food walk past me. Like, you know what I mean? You hungry.
So
like,
sis, give his ass what he don't eat.
Clearly.
Give him that first plate.
Or give
but
everybody else, just give him the one piece of meat that's ready and everything else waiting.
that's cool. Or feed me on time.
Prepare the food in time so your stomach
nobody hungry.
Roll.
So we don't care about the food, wherever the food go. I ain't even paying attention to the food.
And it's also, I think it's context too, because again, Sharice mentioned, on those posts and social media and stuff like that, is oftentimes you see single women saying, my baby gonna eat first, this and that. Again, I think and it takes us right into the next point where we talk about, it sets the example for the structure of the home, right? Mm-hmm. If your mindset and if your focus is on having a connected, intact two-parent home, you're not going to raise a kid to then go out and do something contrary to that. And so what I mean is
unless you don't value it.
Unless you don't value it.
Because you can sit in a two-parent household and say that you value it, but don't want that for your child.
That's tough. And so here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say about that, babe. I got one for you.
Because that's
so here's the thing.
I want clarity real quick. So you saying, as the parent, you value a two-parent household, but you don't want your child to...
I value it for me.
So here's what I say.
Deep.
So what I get from that? Here's what I get from that, right? I get a person who sits in a seat, right? That my household, I'm a two-parent family. I'm taking care of my kids, and I'm doing things a certain way, right? The problem is, if they don't now train their kids to replicate something that they feel is successful for them, that means that when their kid launches or partially launches, they're still the central focus and the central hub and the only person of relevance. So that kid doesn't have the perspective to know that one day I need to make my husband first, right? That because now if I go make my husband first, then mommy or whoever that parent is who set that tone isn't first. Right. So that's a whole that's the next we can dive into that on the next one.
And that's crazy.
You feel what I'm saying?
That's gonna be
But I was even talking about, you can take that two ways though. That's one way. But the second way is you can sit in a seat and again value it because you know it's necessary for your life now, but not necessarily value it. So you can value what you're getting out of that unit, but you don't value the unit. Yes. So you don't want your child stuck in the unit, if that makes sense.
So that so you basically saw somebody their survival is based upon the circumstances that they in.
Exactly. Right? So they value it because they're there and they are dependent upon it.
Okay.
But I don't want to replicate this for you. I want something different for you.
So I'm a married woman, but I'm gonna raise strong women that they don't have to need a man to be married. And so they can put their kids first.
I'm a strong man. I take care of my wife. But guess what? I don't want my son taking care of nobody. Yeah. Go do you, son, because this is for the birds. So
that's deep. That's real deep. Because that's almost like saying you live in a double life. It's like you smiling and you gotta do all this, but then your spirit is like, man, you know what I mean? That's kind of crazy.
I chalk the shit up as to how the families have become disconnected. These two mindsets and ideals is how families drift, because each generation you've seen something. Your parents are together, your grandparents are together, but then it's you don't value marriage because they're putting these ideals in the kids that it doesn't continue to the next generation because they did not value it.
Very twisted.
But I'm saying, but I get exactly what she's saying. That's basically saying if I was in a household full of love, then out in the world I don't value love like a next person would do that didn't have it. You get what I'm saying? So it's like if I was out here and I meet my spouse, love don't mean that much to me, so I do whatever I care because you're the one that cares about the love, basically because I was gifted.
It goes back to our last conversation about that hierarchy of needs. Your needs are met. It don't. You take that. You hungry. You just talk about being hungry
with the plate.
You take with your plate there. You take that first bite. You ain't as hungry no more, so you ain't tripping off of the food, right?
Right.
But same thing. If you feel that's a great point, man.
That's very toxic.
Yeah, it is. That's the world we live in. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
No way around it. Toxic. Okay.
And it's the basic. I think it's the basic necessity of man trying to control, not letting things be what it's supposed to be. I believe everything on this earth has a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you just allow things to be, it's going to be served. I think people are so fear of if this not going to happen, that ain't going to happen, and be in control to put things in place. If you could just fall back, it's going to naturally just fall where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but when you let go, it's so freeing.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, sir.
But not even just that.
So freeing.
Letting go can be just letting go of something specific, or it could be letting go of the entire thing, right?
Yes.
Because I feel like if you sit in a marriage and you're not preaching marriage and you don't value it, then why are you displaying that to your child? Because what you should be saying and showing is that if you're not happy, you know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't be basically betraying a lie to them what they see, but then it's like, oh, but don't do this. That's
kind of
that's kind of fucked up to me.
Contradicting.
Yeah, it's like, well,
Hypocrisy.
why is it good for you? Like,
But not good for me.
right.
Yeah. And somebody mentioned, being toxic.
Yes.
Being why families drift. And so in line with that second point about just the structure, right? So there are some families, and again, I've seen some, I'm sure you all have as well, where you see everything kind of replicates itself generation after generation, right? And you see that family they got something. That family has an identity. You know how they roll, right? This grandma and grandpa, boom, all their kids, and of course they're gonna be outliers. Somebody's always somebody that kind of does something different or things different, because in positive situations or situations that the outside world may see as positive, they manifest and move just like, as you would say, toxic situations where you be like, yo, everybody in that family had kids at 13 and this and that, and then there's gonna be somebody that do something different, right? It happens both ways. I believe that ultimately, and based on the subject that we're talking about with the kids, right? Really having the ability as parents to impart the values that you want to impart on your children, because as a parent, I mean that's your job. Your kids you're their first teacher, you're their first everything. And so it's your job to impart values on them. Before they walk out into the world, they got to have a foundation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so once they're in the world, that foundation that you give them, even as they're navigating through school and all that, they're going to see stuff, they're going to hear stuff, but they always come back to that foundation.
But to be honest, I feel like the best way for you to do that is for it to be not, say, both parents hustling. Somebody is mainly at home that's able to nurture and give those life lessons or to be on top of certain things. Because I do feel like we're in an age now where everybody, they want the money, they trying to get it. They this, they that. But I feel like you need a balance. It has to be. Children shouldn't have to come home to nobody being home. Now that's some people's situation, I understand that. However, we done got so far away from the two-parent household, or parents staying together, or even blended families if they're raising their children together to where nobody's home, which is why these kids are raising themselves. Why they out here doing all this crazy shit that they're doing, which is why they're even the things that they might learn in school that might not be correct, or them learning things off of their friends versus what should be inside your four walls. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that's relative though, because I feel like if you know, again, you don't have to be necessarily grinding or out here chasing money to not be home, because there are some demanding careers that parents pick that affords a life that you chose, right? I think it's bigger than you not being home, but there should be some type of structure and some things and mechanisms in place to be home, because you can be home with your kid and not be home with your kid.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you know, and I think you can be absent and you could still set a mighty strong foundation and expectation, whether I'm in your face or not. You know what the consequences are if you derail.
So I disagree with that, because how do you know what's going on if you're not there?
Well, everything. I believe everything done in the dark comes to light. So if you have a child who's not obeying, there's something that's gonna show up.
But once it shows up, you might be too late at that point versus catching it.
You may be too late, but I guess the point is, you could also be home and you could see something, because none of us are with our children 100% of the day. Because there's school, there's play.
Schooling, but
right.
Yeah.
But even that, but anyway.
Yeah, good.
Because they go to their rooms. I mean, there's just moments of everybody's day that they are not sitting in their children's face. So I just think it's bigger than. I think it all matters. I think it's all a balance, but I think that it's bigger than just, okay, I can't take this job because I need to be home. No, maybe your ass need a camera.
Or
in their room. Maybe you need lights. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need mechanisms to help you, but shit, we need that even when you're home. So
I think it boils down to how you utilize the time. Like you said, somebody could be at home and don't do shit.
Right.
Don't teach them anything. Like, and then you got some parents. So raising is just raising. It ain't no getting around it. You can't raise them through a camera. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm a parent where I want to see what you rather do. That way I know the type of person you are. If I tell you, you only do as I say, and you stiffen up every time I come around, you only a representation of what I manipulate. You see what I'm saying? And you only going to show me that every time.
You put in the show.
I had to adjust that. Yeah.
So, because at the end of the day, what they do in front of is, if they, like you said, if they just a shell and they just like, okay, you got me in your face. What happens when you turn 18 and now you can make any decision you want, and you're no longer in my home?
Right, but then you want to see the result.
You can't even make a decision.
But you want to see the result on what you did when the raise. You know what I mean?
So
I say
you gotta have some wiggle room to be able to make your own decisions and use the knowledge that I imparted on you.
And that's why I say it's cool to letting them know how much we communicate, because I want you to get comfortable. Now I do the balance on the opposite end.
Yeah.
I'll make you straighten up in the correction, and then I'll explain to you what you're doing, and this is why it is, and this is the result, what's going to lead to what you're doing. Now if you think otherwise, it's your choice. I can't control what you do in life. Because if I was a child, I had my mindset. My parents couldn't tell me anything. Once my mind set it in there, I said I was going to jump off the roof, and you ain't going to stop me from jumping off this roof. You going, like you said, it's going to be a time where you got to have your own time. Everybody needs time to themselves eventually. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think it boils down to.
But let me just say this. I just got to stop you right there. You know, having a mind that you can say when your mind is made up, they can't change it. It's something that your parents did.
You had to learn that.
That's learned, because parents have the ability to manipulate very little before you even know your thoughts, before you even understand the processes of your thoughts and actions. Mom and dad can manipulate and shut all that shit down. Yeah, so even to have the ability to be able to think was given to you.
And so I'm a kind of not necessarily disagree, but give a little caveat to that. The long-standing debate of nature versus nurture, right? So you're speaking on nurture where parents give you, right? But I believe, I always say, like, when the kid is born, they're 1/3 each parent, they're 1/3 of themselves, right? That's but the reality is that there are gonna be some kids, some wild cards out here that defy anything and everything that's being imparted in them.
The black sheep.
The same way you can have a family of kids raised in the same exact environment and all of them be different or one of them be different, because I believe that's that nature. We can grow up in the same environment, we can be given the same values and have the same discipline, same tools, but we do differently with it, because that's something that's in us innately that kind of causes us to kind of move.
And we also do differently with it because we are innately different. we require a different method to get through.
Absolutely.
So I believe that if you have one set standard in a house full of multiple kids, you're absolutely gonna get them all different because they're all not processing that information the same. But if you are a crafty parent who knows how to get through each child to their ability and how they receive it, I do believe you can master some things.
That sounds like
That's what I believe. I believe
that sound like
that
education,
if you
man.
learn what makes them tick, and as a parent, I can only speak from a mom, I believe I can manipulate my kids to do anything.
You sound
I believe I can make my children not like anybody, jump off the damn roof if I chose to. I believe that.
But
right at this moment.
The type of energy it takes to do that. That's like saying that's like having a 3-ring circus. You got the lions over here, and then you got the monkeys over here, and you got 10 of them, but then the lions like doing it. And but I'm saying, but if you're able to keep all of that together to put on a show, you should be on TV.
I'm just saying, it's possible.
So guess what? With my children, that ain't happening. They got their own mind. They'll formulate their own opinions. And I'm thankful for that because that makes me sometimes think that if I can't manipulate you, you might not let somebody else as easily manipulate you to an extent. Like my children, kind of like me, when the mind is made up on something, they think what they think. And I tell him sometimes you gotta let them lead into that way, and they gotta learn their consequence behind the action based off of their decision, as long as it's not detrimental.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I'm going to do any of those things. Yeah, I believe my children should have freedom to
right.
I'm just saying the power that you possess over them.
And some people can't handle having that power.
No, I want my kids to be able to think. I don't want them to be a replica of myself. I want them to think on their own, but
I think the most honorable thing to do, most people seem to not hit the nail on it. It's like you want to raise your kid to know their self.
Yes.
Because once they become sure and know who they are, they can't be manipulated by anything that's outside of that realm of who they are.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the ultimate goal is to understand who they are and let them grow to be who they are and make sure that they're sure of themselves and know who they are when they leave your household.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the third point, y'all, the whole concept of fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids.
As parents, when we unify with that, right, it galvanizes unity, right? So we know that not even the children come before you, right? Not even the children, right? And so the unity and fulfillment that as a person, because again, in a relationship, there should be some fulfillment, right? And there should be a level of security, right? So that not even these little rascals who we're responsible for can come in between us.
Right.
Right? And also, with that, you now also have a foundation because we're strong because we know we locked in. Now, our foundation gives us what we need to now foster that support and development of our children. So it benefits them either way. Right. We saying fuck them, but we saying fuck them for them in the long run.
A positive fuck. I get it.
I can't. A positive fuck.
Cheers to that.
So let's talk about that, y'all. So.
What a positive fuck.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
That's what got us the children in the first goddamn place. Positive fucks.
But the idea and the feelings that you guys have as it relates to just kind of building that security, building that sense of unity as parents. You conquered the dragon, right? You slayed the dragon. That kid came in here try to divide and conquer, but we understand, but they don't. How y'all deal with that when y'all on the same page and you're laying down the law and it's for the kids' good, but they kicking and screaming and giving you the blues about it.
That feels good to me. I be rubbing my hands like Birdman. I be the evil face just be on. I just love it. I mean, because to me, family life can be entertaining. It's real life shit, but to me, it's like, okay, this is a battle right now. It's mental joust, because that's basically what your kids do with you all day long, mentally joust you, test you. Because it's some parents out here, unbeknownst to any, but your kids probably are smarter than you, and they run circles around you, and you just don't understand. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. Because they all want to try. And I ain't saying that all parents are dumb, but I'm saying all y'all not 100% smart than your kids. Like some kids out this bitch is winning.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
That's right.
So to me, it's like, it's just us going back and forth and who's going to win. It's competitive to me. I'm sometimes mad at her when she about to fall for some shit. I'm like, you really about this?
You making us look bad.
Right, like what is you doing?
And you know what's funny? I think what it is with me, when I know it's bullshit, I choose not to engage. So the way that he sometimes perceived that is me allowing them to get over. No, I know what it is. I just choose not to engage. But I'm that person in life, period. Certain stuff, I ain't got time for.
But see, the problem is
he thinks that, well, you're letting them get over. I'll give you an example. One night, I'm a light sleeper, so I hear everything when I'm asleep. It's late. It's a school night. It sounds like my daughter talking on the phone, right?
It ain't sound like.
Well, that's
she was on the phone. See, that's the problem right there. It sounded like that. That's the problem.
So I get up and I open the door like, it's a school night. Get off your phone. That's exactly what I say to her. She said, I'm not on my phone. I shuts the door. Before I can get back in bed, he was like, you gonna let her tell her she wasn't on your phone? She
no,
fucking
you ain't
lying.
even telling the whole story. when you told her to get off the phone, she said I wasn't on the phone. She said, oh, so who you was talking to? She said myself.
Oh, yeah, okay, so I left that part out, right?
Me, I would have slapped the shit out of her. I'm sorry. She'd have got slapped by telling me you was.
So when I come back in the bedroom, he's like, you falling for that? Listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to bed. I told her to get off the phone. She did. I'm not worried about the little in-betweens, but he's very firm on that. Like, nah, you ain't gonna get over me. You ain't gonna think you smarter than me. You're not smarter than him. That's how he act. You know what I mean? And my thing is like, no, as long as I gave instruction and you follow my instruction, I'm good for now because I'm trying to go back to bed. We can address all that in the morning.
But what I'm saying is, a blatant lie to the face is disrespect. That's how I take it as a form of disrespect. You really think that you sit here giggling and laughing, or you going to Shepherd Pratt in the fucking morning if you was in here talking to
No, you going to night, so you don't kill me while I sleep.
So yeah, it's consequences to the shit that you in here doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I seen The Conjuring, I seen a whole bunch of shit. We not going to have that here. But the fact that it's bigger than, I'm just saving a piece of it. It's like, no, you're not gonna do that. We're gonna nip this in the bud right now. Like I said, them behaviors. Because if she get over on you on that, she's gonna go in life and think that she can do this out in the world where the world is not gonna give two fucks.
Well, you're right, but then she'll learn those lessons when she has to learn them.
But sometimes they might be dramatic when they hear them. They might get hurt.
And I feel
playing
like,
them games.
If you present that unified front early, some of the shit you don't got to keep going through.
Right, you don't.
See, that's the fucking problem. Parents, like you said, are getting outsmarted by the kids. They fucking playing you, and you got to keep doing the same shit over and over. Because once our kids know, there's nothing you're going to say to either one of us that the other person haven't already known. So unless you want both of us to know, you better keep that shit to yourself.
So you know what's funny? With us being together as long, and again, having a blended family, we had to learn certain things along the way.
Yeah.
Because again, like I was raised in a 2-parent household. He wasn't. My 2-parent household was toxic, but it was still a mom and dad. He didn't have that at all. So our parenting skills were completely different because at the end of the day, mine was do as I say. His was like he said earlier.
Negotiation.
He'd rather know what you want to do. He want to know the real you versus what he's forcing you to do. So we're probably in the last maybe 5 years are kind of getting on that page to where we're on the same. And to be honest, what made me taken a little back is initially when my children were so compliant in the beginning that certain things it was kind of like somebody else can manipulate them because they were so compliant, and it scared me a little bit, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I said I gotta let go of the a little bit.
So compliant to whom? You?
Authority. So another example. I'll give.
Might be one of us.
Yeah. So
But
like,
at the end of the day,
so it's almost
that's
like
also age. I think compliance is also age appropriate.
so this one. So it is
because
so
little
like,
kids are going to be more compliant.
Yes, but my thing is not to the point like I remember once my daughter had an issue where she always listened, she was always good, all that other stuff. She's in school, she had an accident on herself. Now this is elementary school, I think maybe like kindergarten. So the teacher was instructing. she raised her hand to go to the bathroom, but the teacher thought she was raising her hand to answer the question, and because she didn't call on her, she told all the kids to put their hands down. My daughter put her hand down and never spoke up for herself that she had to use the bathroom and had an accident. You know what I mean? So in my mind, I'm like, well, why didn't you think just to go?
Certain stuff you
but
got.
it was just because she was such in line of being compliant.
But she
and
was a
wanted to be
kindergartner.
good.
That was the teacher's fault. That wasn't.
The
fuck.
So the crazy thing
That
is, when
was
I had
not
a
her
conversation with the teacher felt so bad. She was
Yeah.
very empathetic. She was like, I didn't know.
Well, you
my
should have
thing,
asked.
but my thing was like, I need my daughter to have the mindset to know
To be
that-
like, no, keep your hand up. Like, no, I'm gonna
correct.
keep it up.
And she didn't because she was just trying to be so pleasing. And to me, when children are so pleasing or compliant, that puts them in an era for somebody grown to manipulate them.
But
to things that they
I
not
agree with that
You understand what I'm saying?
100%. But I
So-
also feel like when we put our kids not compliant, because there's situations and environments where compliance is necessary, even when you need to speak up. Because I believe children shouldn't challenge adults. You as a parent, you have parents to challenge. Like, you come home, you get the advice, you get the consultation, and I'm coming to fight that battle for you. Because I don't agree with that.
So I agree with that to an extent. However, I don't want my child to think because they're being so compliant that they're going to put themselves in a situation that they wasn't comfortable with because they're worried about being compliant. I need you to speak up for yourself, but do it respectfully and in the right environment, if that
So
makes
in
sense.
other words,
Right.
don't pee on yourself. Don't walk out the class, but don't pee on yourself. Squat and piss on the floor. I'll take care of that. You ain't let her go to bed. I mean, at least she ain't sitting there all over herself. She can,
Damn chair.
she can let the teacher know it was real. Guess
Right,
what? Huh?
right.
And I